If the National Tax Bureau wants to set you up, it's very easy. They would just come and inspect your tax, and you're doomed.
The total amount of money is more than US 600,000, simply with a sheet of tax bill. Tax bureaus inform you how much you owe.
The government just kept adding tax. Up to date, I need to pay US $2.5 million in order to pursue redress through litigation. I already paid more than US $1.4 million. Now I barely have faith in this government. Ministry of Finance's torture, evil, and illegality is the scariest stuff than anyone else. For Taiwanese survival, the fight against the abuse of Ministry of Finance, my son will continue to fight when I die, and even my grandson will continue when my son dies.
The National Tax Bureau suddenly sent me the unexpected tax bills in total more than US $3.9 million. Because of the case, I could not sleep for consecutive 6 months. For several times, I even wanted to jump off from the building. During that time, when I appealed to the Deputy Minister of Finance, Zhang Shanhe, he even came up with an excuse. If I don't find you, you will join up with the inheritance. My inheritance ran away, how could I join up with them? In addition, this case is assigned by the Court of Application of NTB. How I join up with them, that would mean helping you solve the problem. You even revenge on me, what kind of mentality it is? This, I think, reflects his real idea, the assumption of citizens as thieves.
I was fined more than 35,000 US dollars, just like that. The nightmare has been haunting me for 10 years. This is unacceptable all my life.
The biggest blow in my life is the tax laws in our country, which first drives people to hell, then negotiate the amount by deducting or adding. If someone dare to go through this and shoulder the burden, I will highly admire him, a miracle for not committing suicide.
My deal purchase fell apart, but the National Taxation Bureau added all the unpaid tax of seller onto me. My life is gone. I got nowhere to seek help. I had depression, now even cancer, but the National Taxation Bureau still keeps chasing me for money. I don't have any more money. More than US 35,000 is already a huge amount for me. I have exhausted all that I could do. I have been unemployed for 30 years because of the illness. The tax, just like they push a knife on my neck. How could I survive? I am on the verge of death, and the government still doesn't let me go. Please help me. It's been more than 20 years. I cannot take it anymore. The government still wants money from me. It's killing me. I want my justice.
Each invention patent costs 10 to 14,000 US dollars to obtain. Within 10 years, I have obtained 1,600 patents, and the president said that he wanted to reward me and suggest me price my patent in exchange of capital, such as technology investment to industrialize my research. Following his advice, I select one patent and price it. Originally, my company was 1.8 million US dollars. Then the capital was increased to 10.8 million US dollars due to my technology investment. But what happened? By the end of the year, I was asked to pay 5.4 million US dollars in taxes. I protest. I didn't even sell my shares. Why tax me? That was very unfair. I suggest, how about use my shares as collateral? The National Tax Bureau refused as they thought my stocks were worthless. They seized all my property, real estate, all my bank deposits, and auctioned them all off. So I now have nothing.
You tax officials should fix it when you know something's wrong, rather than threaten citizens to hire a lawyer to sue me. It's like saying, yes, I buy you, I bully you. What can you do?
I asked the director of the NTB immediately, within 1 week, to refund me the incorrect tax money of 35,000 US dollars.
They said the fine is 20 times the amount you owe. Who decides that? The National Tax Bureau does. Who decides how much back taxes you owe? The NTB does. And if you don't accept, they will audit your tax records for 10 years.
Since the company want to avoid trouble, we have no choice but to surrender. Most of the times, we pay up around $1.7 thousand to $2.5 thousand to satisfy NTB's requests.
The tax agency came to my office to inspect tax and asked me to make it up with more than $71,000. During the process, the amount was negotiated down to $10,000. Because we don't dare to go against government authority, we can only obey and pay up the $10,000 tax money.
The district officer told me, "You have the highest profit in my district, so you can pay a little bit more." I've never evaded taxes. Why do I have to pay a little bit more for less tax?
A tax official came to me unexpectedly and asked me to pay the additional amount of $7,000. 1 week later, he visited me again and said I submitted your case to my superior. He said it was unacceptable because this amount is way too little. He said my boss said that there should be one more zero at the end of the number. That is, the amount went from $7,000 to $72,000.
We did have transactions with them. The NTB only informed me 5 years later that the entity we traded was a paper company and came to fine us instead of that paper company for VAT tax. It's very unfair. After paying the additional VAT tax, my boss closed down the company. It had been hard to maintain the business. He didn't want to live under such taxation threat.
The NTB issued me a 5-year tax bill on the reasons that my store's signboard does not match the registered company name.
He insisting on imposing the tax. I then went to litigation. I was plagued by multiple mental and physical illnesses during the 5-year proceeding.
The NTB discretionarily carry out inspection on all my previous tax returns. If there's an error, I'll be fined. I've already been fined twice.
My mother-in-law's name was Lin Wang Yue. When she saw this tax bill, she was shocked. My parents-in-law were honest and law-abiding people. They always paid their taxes, so she just returned the bill. But 1 year later, the same tax bill came back. Obviously, my mother-in-law was a lady, but the Lin Wang Yue on the previous tax bill was a guy. This time, the gender, address, and ID number were all changed to my mother-in-law's information, so the tax bureau could force her to pay. Every year, my mother-in-law was haunted by the same tax bill. She passed away in 1996, and I received a court enforcement notice in 2001. It was really scary. We have suffered so many years as a family, yet those corrupt bureaucrats walked away without consequences. They don't admit their wrongdoings and keep repeating their mistakes. They should be rightfully punished.
The company accepted my technology investment because they wanted my technical skills, and this was approved by the Ministry of Economic Affairs. A year and a half later, the National Taxation Bureau replied me saying, "Sorry, this is not a technology investment, this is salary income." They asked me to pay more than $144,000 in taxes. I went to file a review and went through the administrative litigation. I also filed a litigation to the administrative court then. Of course, they turned down my request and I lost the case. They took all my money from my bank account first and sent me a notice, and then also restrict me from leaving the country. I cannot go abroad. My ex-wife was unable to comprehend the situation, so we divorced. Of course, the children have been in the United States since.
My house was auctioned off because of 2 unpaid traffic tickets of $648. On March 30th of this year, I was informed to hand over my house by the clerk. It was then that I learned my house was being auctioned off. I have no idea from the beginning, and suddenly I received the bad news.
In 2016, I received a notice from the NTB that informed me to pay the luxury tax. My husband and I have only one house registered under our name, and we move into it within the required period. Why do we need to pay the luxury tax? Every time we try to check with the NTB, they simply use various regulations to convince us to pay the tax of more than $180,000. If we refuse, we will be asked to pay nearly $360,000 with fines included.
Because he couldn't make money. He went to work in China. It was then the NTB said that we earn more than $40 million and imposed a tax bill of over $1.8 million. As a result, my husband couldn't come back because he would be restricted from leaving Taiwan. One of my kids was 1 year old then and the other 3. My older kid is now 10 years old. 7 years! My husband has missed the family time of 7 years to be with my kids and me in Taiwan just because of a single wrong tax bill. They definitely knew it was a wrong bill, and yet they are unwilling to correct it.
The Taxation Bureau adopts a very simple approach when imposing taxes. They are the boss. After taxpayers receive a tax bill and declares, this is not mine, it's not my tax, and there is something wrong with the bill, then how does NTB respond? NTB simply just asks people to prove it. Prove it if you can, otherwise you have to pay.
My land has been expropriated by you, and you still ask me to pay taxes? It doesn't make sense. I will pay the tax if you return the land back to me.
We were not informed that we owe taxes, but our house was sealed. Even the final ruling of criminal court could not stop NTB from pursuing the taxation. So my salary is extra. They took away all my money from my bank account. Now there's barely a penny left.